allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Can I have a motion to open up the town board June 12th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'm just going to move things around a little bit because I got two consultants here, so I don't think it's necessary to keep them. So I'm going to move up the developers agreement to number one, and then we'll go to the public hearings. I apologize for the change, but again, two consultants here that need to get to other locations. So, Sean, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Supervisor. Just by way of some background for the board, this is in connection with the RDM 2602 application, which was approved by the planning board approximately 2 years ago, actually 2.5 years ago at this point. 300,000 square foot warehouse distribution facility. Applicant received signed site plans at the end of last year and is seeking a building permit. One of the planning board's conditions for a building permit was that the applicant pay their fair share of costs for their traffic impacts. The applicant's consultant prepared a cost estimate. That estimate was sent to the town's consultant, Kinley Horn. John Kennedy is here this evening to talk about it. And I believe the applicant's attorney is here and would like to speak on the matter as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Charlie, I'll let you go first. All right.
Good evening, Supervisor Betro, members of the board. Charles Gottlieb with the law firm of Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna. Land use counsel for the developer, which is 2602 Route 17 Developers, LLC. We did have our traffic engineer, Phil Greeley, is going to come to the meeting. He's stuck in traffic on the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, which should be coming shortly. As he had mentioned, a developer's agreement for traffic mitigation. As part of this approval of this project, there was a secret finding statement, which is the end of a very, very long and comprehensive environmental review process. As a part of that finding statement, there was certain mitigations related to traffic lights, improvements to local roads, and so forth. In that finding statement, there's several mitigation measures that the applicant constructs itself, pays for itself, and so forth. There are a number of mitigation measures, however, that potentially may be warranted in the future as the town grows and as current developments that are alone may not require traffic mitigation. When other projects get constructed, they'll also pay into the fair share fund. Mitigation measures are warranted, then they will be built with that money and no from the town or the taxpayers. So we fully agree with the memo dated June 9th from Kinley Horn that requests that our fair share of the traffic mitigation is $90,000. We have amended the developer's agreement to reflect that new memorandum. And we ask this evening that the town board vote to authorize the supervisor to sign the developer's agreement upon a final review by the attorney.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would agree 95% with what Charlie said. There was an extensive process. There was mitigation identified. You're supposed to mitigate your significant adverse traffic impacts. Certain specific improvements were identified to mitigate the significant adverse impacts, most notably the left turn lane on 17M at the driveway, the sidewalk, and there were a couple of other little things. And then there were not significant adverse impacts, but impacts nonetheless that were identified at 4 or 5 other locations, and the planning board's decision was that there should be a fair share contribution. The only difference that I would have with what Charlie said is I think some of these improvements are warranted now, but they're not a significant adverse impact because of the project, and so it's sort of a halfway compromise. The project is making a fair share contribution. They provided calculations that laid it out, and I've reviewed it, and I agree with it. My personal professional opinion.
I did notice on, when you put together your proposal on the different properties there, there was Chatham Wine on there.
Yep.
And we have no control over Chatham Wine, it's in the
Correct.
village.
That's correct.
So how did we get that money contributed to it, or is that in the village?
So Chatham Wine was required to make communication and signal vehicle detection improvements at the intersection.
Mhm.
So presumably, if that goes ahead, they'll be required to do that.
Okay,
If they don't do it, the money that has been provided by the applicant could actually take care of all of that.
I'm sorry, what applicant?
But
But
this-
why would we be utilizing town monies that come in to mitigate problems up 17 for a village project that's in the beginning of 17?
Well, there's a project at that intersection. I'm not sure if it's technically in the village. The intersection is Maple and 17M and 6.5 Station Road. That may be kind of on the borderline between the town and the village.
No, I'm speaking to the fact that Chatham Wine was included in the fair share of monies that are gonna be
No,
given
it's
to the
not.
town. Well, they were,
Well,
unless it's changed.
I'll step it back a little bit, if you let me.
Yeah, sure.
Chatham Wine was required by the village to approve this one intersection as their mitigation, right? In performing the calculations for who would.
Contribute to that?
Yeah, how much should be contributed, they were included.
Okay.
You're absolutely right, and there's no way that the town can require them to do that because they're in the village, but they are required to make this one improvement that this applicant is contributing to do the fair share cost of, if they don't make that one improvement that they're already required to do.
Okay.
So it's a
I
little
gotcha.
convoluted, but I don't think there's anything too wrong in it.
But, you know, they did do quite a bit of improvements on 17M, so have they finished what they were required to do? I don't know, because they're in the village.
So I don't know either. But we could have somebody go look at the intersection and see if they, but basically, it's a cellular modem, which is a phone which allows the DOT to check in with the traffic signal if there's a problem, to see if they can reset it without having to drive out. So it's an efficiency thing for the state. And then they usually put a camera up, you can see the camera, and the camera looks down and it tells the computer that controls the signal, is there a car in this lane, or is there a car in this lane? So, you know, I can drive by there on my way home and see if the camera is there.
Yeah, I try to avoid that intersection. I don't even think the light's even up yet. If there's no light up there yet. If they're looking to put a light up, a
No,
signal
no,
light?
they're not. They're looking to improve the operation of the existing signal at 6.5 Station Road.
Oh, okay, I apologize, all right, I get
Maple
you.
Avenue.
And Maple
Okay.
and 17.
I thought you were talking about a light fixture on the Chatham Wine
No,
entrance.
what they're doing at their entrance is the village's business.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So, just a question, as far as this particular project and this fair share, the way I understand it is there are going to be two more projects. I'm not sure if it's the same corporation or a subsidiary that are going to be going up somewhere across the road in a close proximity to this project. Am I correct in that?
So there were previously two projects that were proposed by RDM Group.
Yes.
RDM Group is no longer involved in this project. They sold it to the developers. Those two projects have not been before the planning board, I would say, in a year and a half or so.
Right.
And I have not heard whether or not they are gonna come back to life or not. But if they do, they will be required, like every project, to go through a very extensive environmental review and traffic review. And what will be peculiar about those two projects is they will have to be studied together and not separately.
Well, there would be an impact based on the project that you're talking about now and the fair share. If those projects go through and if there are live applications and they start processing that, the amount of fair share is absolutely nominal in comparison to the amount of infrastructure, road, whatever that would have to be built. And so we're looking to the future. We don't want to deal with today and say, well, we've got this drop of water here and we need more. Well, when someone gets thirsty, we'll get some more. It's just not the way it works. So I'm really concerned about those additional two projects and that whole roadway and the additional traffic and and the hazards that it would create. So,
Sure, and what
that
else?
being said, I think I would like a little more information, maybe our engineer take a look at it, to see what really will be needed at that intersection in the future, in the near future, especially if the projects go through, and then recalculate the fair share based on what we think or what will be needed. Now, that's just a,
Well,
Sure, what I-
so I think John should answer to that, 'cause I
well,
think you looked
anybody
at
can
everything,
answer,
right?
and I'm just making a comment.
So,
Yeah.
Board member,
Yeah.
that applicant will be required to do the same multi-year, probably extensive review, and its impacts will be identified, and they'll be determined as to whether they're significant or not significant. And then the significant ones, they'll have to pony up and make the necessary improvements. And my expectation is that those that are not significant but are still impacts, the planning board, based on past practices, are going to require them to make another contribution to help the town move along towards the process. And the last part of the process is that the town is now undertaking a town-wide traffic study that's going to look at these intersections, and the purpose of the traffic study is to answer that question.
Yeah, good. So I think we should wait for an approval until we get the traffic study and really figure out exactly what's going on over there. Because once you ring the bell, you just can't unring it.
Well, if
So
I
that's the
could,
thing I'm a little concerned about. And these applications are still live. They have not been withdrawn. And if they went first, you would have the same thing in reverse. They would create just a little bit of upheaval. However, when your project came in, the combined project would be colossal and would need tremendous renovations on the road. That's what I'm concerned about. So,
and what I can tell you is, so every project, you go in front of the planning board, and every project is reviewed based on, okay, what are the other potential projects that are out there?
right.
When 2602 was before the planning board, 2659 and 2675 were not. So
Right.
they weren't considered. But when we did do the fair share assessment, they were examined as far as how much potential traffic they would generate in the future. Now, when those projects, if they do come back to life and they go before the planning board, there will be a traffic impact study for those two projects. That traffic impact study will assess our project. It will assess all the other projects that are in that corridor. And then the planning board will say, okay, now there's this much traffic on. We have this much money in our traffic mitigation fund. We're gonna make the developer at 2659 and 2675 pay this much and make these improvements. So
But they
the
won't come back
process,
to your original project and say, you know what, you're really contributing a lot, and the sum total of all of the traffic that's there, it's just not fixing one lane or this lane, the whole thing will have to be recalculated, and they won't be able to come back to your firm and say, you know what, fellas, it really is a tremendous upheaval on this thing, and you're really not contributing the fair share based on what's needed for that whole intersection. Are you going to be able to pony up the rest of the money that might be needed? It may not be the fair share now, but then again, the fair share may be a tremendous amount more based on what's needed and what's in the plan. And these warehouses are coming in, they're planning.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, and this, so what I'm just saying, I mean, I don't want to throw a stone in this thing, but I really, I want to look at the data, because this is big stuff that we're
so
talking about here.
the process, the way it's working is exactly how you want it to work. And I think there's just a communication issue. So the traffic impact studies for those two larger projects, they haven't been developed yet.
No,
And so we don't know yet what those developments are gonna require as far as traffic
I
mitigation.
understand that, but
And when
there
they
is a
do-
basic application, and you can do the projection based on the application, what's going to be needed when those projects come in. I know the fair, I believe, I don't know anything, I believe the fair share, the calculation will change substantially.
And if it does change, it is on those projects.
Oh, I
to
understand
pay.
that. No, I understand that, but you'll be contributing to that problem.
We're paying for
just
our
as much.
contribution.
You're only paying for a small contribution now, but not a contribution based on what's going to happen in that whole intersection.
So we did include those projects in our assessment of what our fair share contribution is. So we took the data that you're expressing,
I don't think so.
so that was in our Collier's engineering
John
memo.
Canning,
Yeah, let's let John answer.
John, did they figure these two warehouses across the road, John? As far as the fair share calculation of what is needed on that whole, section of road? I think you like 4 lanes.
2675 and 2669.
Yes.
Right? They are in here.
So they calculated as part of the contribution.
Yes, so
That
the
gets 2602 to $90,000.
The expectation, so kind of the way it works, right, is you put a cost estimate on what's
Right.
needed.
Right,
And then you look at who's around that could be tasked to pay it and how much traffic they're gonna put in. So if there's 10 projects and each one of them has 10 trips and it adds up to 100, then one project's responsible for 10%. So 2659 and 2675 were in here for 40 trips and 38 trips each, based on their traffic studies. The applicant's project was in for 34 trips. So they'll still have to go through their process, but they're in here, they're in to contribute more based on the numbers than the applicant will.
So I don't want to talk for Phil, but I think,
yeah.
does the entire amount of money that contributes from all those projects meet what we need for the mitigation of the problem?
Of that whole
So-
road
so-
section.
So it should.
It should.
If all of the projects go ahead,
Right.
right, and they all make their contribution.
Well, I'm expecting them to all go ahead, but what I'm saying is, when you have small little pieces, once you put it together, you're gonna find out that you really 34 trucks here. Now you'll have 300 or 400 trucks. It changes the whole complexion of that intersection, all the roadways, all the turning lanes. And I don't know, I mean, if you said that you've calculated all of those, all of the renovations that have to be done on that whole roadway, based on all 3 projects, very close to each other, all the turning lanes, if you've done that calculation, well, I'd like to see it. I'm not sure if that's the way it was. I know you've done individual calculations, taking a percentage, 10% of this, and then if it's all distributed evenly, but I'm talking about this one piece of road that's going to be used extensively. And I don't think that there's enough money as to what you're talking about to reconfigure that whole piece of road for what's proposed in that little section of highway. I just don't see it, but if you have the data, let's take a look at it.
So
We'll have an engineer look at
I
it.
cannot answer that question. I cannot
I
see
don't think so.
into the future like that. But, and I'm going to hand it back to Mr. Gottlieb. There is a process for reviewing various projects, and the reason there's a process that if you didn't have it, you wouldn't know who's on first, and you wouldn't be able to move projects through the system.
But this process has gone through the planning board and they've approved it? Is that how it
Yes.
works?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
This is the
Phil,
this
Yes,
is the
yes.
last item.
No.
So-
It's not the last item?
No.
The planning board issued a conditional approval. There are a number of conditions that needed to be completed for the applicant to get their site plan signed by the chairman. That's been completed. There were additional conditions that the planning, that imposed on the applicant that they have to complete before issuance of a building permit, and that's the stage that they're at right now. This is one of the conditions that they need to satisfy prior to issuance of the building permit. And then after the building permit, there's conditions that are required prior to a certificate of occupancy. So there's a number of different planning board conditions that essentially came out of the secret process as mitigations, and then were incorporated into the planning board's resolution.
And I also, I'll just say,
But if we don't act on this, does
Right.
that stop it?
They can't get a building permit.
they don't get a building permit.
Right.
Okay, but there are other things that they have to do in order to get the building permit, as you just said, right?
Not with this board, yes, there are other
No,
things,
not
but
yet.
there's,
No,
there's
right.
other things that.
So essentially what I'm saying is, it's not like we're stopping the whole project if in fact we decide not to pass this tonight.
well, I can help with that. So there are a series of outside agency permits that were required. We need to get approval from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the septic system, approval from the Department of Health for the well. We've gotten our DEC permits. We're expecting our DOH permits very momentarily. We had to do a number of other outside agency permits, and our traffic engineer, Phil Greeley, is here as well. We had to get permits from the DOT.
DOT.
Right,
You have the
and
permits
so-
from the DOT?
We have our permits
Ready to be issued.
ready to be
Ready,
issued.
do you have the permits from the DOT?
The bond just has to be posted in the permit.
Do you have it?
We have approval, the permit.
Do you have the
comes-
permit from the DOT?
You
Just
have to put the
answer
bond
yes or
out.
no, it's
Yeah.
pretty easy.
Yeah, the permit is pending the bond, that's it.
And so
That would be a
also,
no yet.
Yeah.
I also wanted.
I understand, I don't wanna make it difficult, but I just don't like to be jerked around.
No, and I want to.
Okay.
I want to. I don't know. I always screw this phrase up, but I want to lose the trees in sight of the forest.
Yes.
The planning board is under state law obligation. It can only impose traffic mitigation, the developer to do it, if there's a significant impact. The mitigation we are paying for, we are giving the town $90,000. That was because the planning board didn't find that our impacts were significant, so we weren't required by law to make those improvements. But there was a negotiative process, and we said, you know what, town? We will give you $90,000 so that you can pay for these improvements in the future. So by taking an adverse determination this evening, the town is simply not accepting $90,000 to improve these roadways.
That you're not required to do because it's not an
Correct.
adverse effect. Is that a?
Are they not required to do?
I'm just a traffic guy.
Show them.
I'm not your attorney, but that,
Oh.
I've heard that before,
Are they-
supervisor, and I'm pretty sure.
But
that's
you were
it.
part of the process.
We have to give them
I'm
this-
assuming
yeah,
that the
Absolutely.
planning board-
John and
Yeah,
I.
We were all part of the process,
Right.
yes.
So I guess what I'm asking, is Charlie's assessment of what went on accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
So
the
they're
we-
prior-
obligated, they're doing it out of goodwill or whatever you'd like to call it.
And the prior amount was 45, correct?
Yeah.
Well, the prior amount's 45, but what they're really saying is, well, there are gonna be other things, so we might as well give you 90,000 now and shut you up, basically. And that's the way I see it. However, I understand, if we're not legal, well, you're right, their 10% is 45, but they've agreed to give us 90, blah, blah, blah.
One other clarification, back to your point about the permit.
Sure.
The improvements that are required as part of that permit, the widening of that section.
Right.
Of 17M, over $800,000. And that's the applicant's cost. DOT has nothing to do it, the town has nothing to do it. The applicant is
The
gonna
applicant's
spend
gonna
that
pay for
to
that?
yes, exactly.
$800,000.
Correct.
Above
And
and
there-
beyond this $90,000?
and-
Well, they have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that widening is being done, usually when you widen along a stretch of roadway, you taper back to the existing. They have been required by DOT to extend the widening heading towards Hartley Road, full width for the whole, for the distance. And then in the interim, it would be striped down, so that if future improvements come in required by other developments, the whole list that we went through, it could be added on to. That's very important.
Yes, it
So
is.
the $800,000 that's going in here doesn't come from the state, doesn't come from the town, it's the applicant that's paying for that
So how many trips are they gonna make a day? 34?
In the peak
in the
hour,
peak hours.
In the peak hour, so how many trips are they gonna make
34.
in peak? But generally, what's the average?
Over the course of the day, it's typically 10 times that number of trips.
Right,
That's the spread out over the entire day.
right, okay,
Okay?
yes, yeah. It's a lot more than 30.
Yeah.
So
In a
just-
day, yes.
340.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, that's okay, I just
Just
wanna
to,
get everybody on the
just
same.
to,
Sorry.
Phil, just to enhance Phil's a little bit, is essentially the way I'm looking at this is, you're paying us, well, it was originally 43, and then there was another letter that came in, and now it's 90. But essentially, you're locking in at 90. If in fact, the improvements turn out from all these other applicants, and it happens to be 180,000, you're locked in. You'll come back to us and say, hey, listen, we were here on June 12th, we got the 90, we gave you the 90, you guys approved it, sorry.
And that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, that's a
before.
good question.
I
And
asked that
so-
before.
And I want you, this is not a novel setup. There are several municipalities, I would say the majority of municipalities do this, and typically it's quite an easy process. But yes, we're locked in because quite honestly, we're the first warehouse that's going in this industrial district. We're locked in, those future applicants are not. So if there's a cost increase,
Of course they're not.
or
They have to
if
bear
they're,
that.
but they will be in the future when they go to the planning board. You have a very conservative planning board with excellent planning board consultants
Yes, we
who look
do.
out for the best interests of this town. So they're gonna say, okay, these were the improvements that were made for 2602, 2659, you know, maybe it's 3 years later, let's say. These are the improvements you're gonna need. This is how much it's gonna cost now. And then they're gonna come to you with their developer's agreement, and a memo's gonna come from Kimley Horn, and the price might increase from what we had to pay, right? Because tariffs went up, because whatever the case may be, right? And so we're locked in, right? But in the future, those projects, the planning board, the town board, you guys have the ability to charge them more because of changes in circumstances.
Of course we do.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I think that answers
That's
your
pretty
question,
good.
it's covered,
Yeah.
when the town's not gonna be responsible for it. I was under the impression everybody's locked in at that number. That's
No,
not the case.
absolutely not. Just this application.
Okay. So based on today's number, whatever the total of that is, let's just say for argument's sake, it's $800,000.
Yeah.
They're paying $90,000. 3 years from now, the other two developments go up and it goes to 1.4 million, then it gets divided by the 10 remaining, and those two
Exactly.
pieces will pay that. Okay.
Exactly.
I got you, I understand.
Yeah, so at that particular point, when they widen the roads and do everything, some of the small manufacturers that we would like to come in will never be able to pay the amount. The only ones that'll be able to pay it are the RDMs and the big warehouses. That's what's gonna happen, because it will swell exponentially as each one, there are less to be divided. And each amount, I mean, it's in simple numbers. You know, you're getting, more
Well,
people will
typically-
come in, you're starting at the beginning, so you're gonna be very, very happy to do what you have to do, but as-
Well, typically,
we have to
yeah.
worry about all of those things.
Certainly, and
Yeah.
the projects that are in the pipeline, those, we don't know what the uses of those are gonna be. They could be multi-tenant uses with some light manufacturing in there, some warehousing. But at the end of the day, it's not the tenant that is paying the money, it's the developer that's
We
paying the money.
understand that, yeah, but he's gonna
So,
charge the tenant.
As the statement says here, it's a developer's agreement.
Correct.
We're very
Yeah.
familiar
Yeah.
with developers' agreements, and we like developers' agreements, as you
Yeah.
inferred, and as we inferred. But, moving on, the first thing is, Sean, do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah.
That came in? Basically, these other people, you have nothing else to add, okay. So, as far as me, then, there was a couple of, first item is, in my emails, I got a letter dated June 9th. And then I got another email saying that there was a typo. Is the typo of substance, or did you forget a period or a comma?
No, it was of substance.
Oh, well, maybe I didn't get that one.
Well, do you have a copy of the memo?
I don't think we got a red line version, that's why. Yes, I know what you're saying, George, we didn't get a red line
No,
version, we don't know
So,
what the change
so
was.
the one that I had, is it dated June 9th as well?
It is dated June 9th. If you go to the second page,
Yes?
and if you go down, there's a bunch of minus signs.
Yeah, you mean where it says, starts out with the total PM peak hour?
If you go down towards the bottom, it says Kimley Horn finds no reason on page 2.
I got that, finds no reason.
All right, so the line above that, it says $444,774 constitutes the fair share
Oh,
contribution.
so mine is saying 44,000.
Right.
44,000.
Oh, I thought you said 440,000.
The old one, I transposed from the line above.
Oh, I
just
see.
copied and didn't
So
change
I
it.
have the correct.
You have the
updated
correct one. It's
Okay.
44,774. My apologies. That was my responsibility.
The second thing that I had is, you know, we talk about all of these different people coming in and building along 17M. But, I mean, one is already out, Duncan, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Duncan
Yes.
is gone.
Yes.
So effectively, I would think that there are others that, for whatever the reason may be, would be gone. So let's say two more just decide not to come in.
Duncan's not out.
Well, that's what it says here.
Well, it says they may, what does it say, maybe?
I believe they're dependent on.
It is believed that the Duncan
Oh,
project
water
and
issues.
its associated left is no longer being proposed.
So that's, I said, it is believed, so I believe Rob. right?
Oh, okay, okay.
It's on
So
there.
then all of the ones that are on page 2 of Kimberly Horn's letter of June 9th are basically coming to Goshen.
They're active,
They're active and, but they're not, like
No.
those other warehouses. They're not, someone just said before, they're not active, they're not.
So,
before the planning board now.
so here's the thing, I
But
think we're getting.
Just let me finish my
Sure.
point here.
Yeah.
And that is, what happens, I'm just asking, what happens now if, just for argument's sake, 2 of them go out, right? And now we're whittling it down. So what I think I hear everybody saying is, instead of having, if it's 10,
That's right.
now it's gonna be 8, and therefore the number is gonna be not only enhanced because it's
Yep.
later years, but it's also enhanced because there's less people feeding it.
That's what I was talking about, and that's right, George, that's exactly what I was saying.
But with less applicants, there's going to be less pressure on the road. So
Less improvement.
There'll be less traffic needed, yes, but another thing to remember is, first of all, they're all still active, right? Dunkin' Donuts is still active, 2659 and 2675, my firm also represents that applicant.
Right.
There has been no withdrawal of a planning board application whatsoever.
Right.
But let's say they do go away. What those projects tell us is the development potential of those properties. So, you know, they're not gonna lie vacant forever, they will be developed with some use. And when that use does come along, then they'll pay their fair share with a developer's agreement, just like we are. But if the town doesn't set up this traffic mitigation fund and doesn't receive the funds that we are, the $90,000 that we would be providing, then we don't know if those improvements will ever be made. So you need to take the funds for the project based on the money that is analyzed in this Kimley Horn memo. Another thing to realize is SECRA, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, doesn't allow planning boards to make speculative determinations. So you have to look at what's proposed at this time. Those are the projects that are proposed at this time.
Okay, I had, I guess this is, your first name is Charlie, right?
Yes.
Yes. The question I had, Charlie, I think it was your, was, oh, yeah, that's what it was. In the actual developers agreement, which again, I just got this tonight.
Yeah.
But there's just, the only difference between the one I've had for a week and the one that's here is the difference of the 90,000, and I think there was a date change. Everything else. is the
Correct,
same.
it just references the new memo, and that initial developers agreement, just with that one change of the new memo, was the same one you had before you 2 weeks ago.
Right, okay. This might be legalese, and I'm not an attorney, but I don't understand number 2 under, it's on the second page, where it says no waiver. Could you explain that to me?
So it says no waiver by the town of any default by the developer in the performance of its obligations hereunder shall operate as a waiver of any other default or the same default on a future occasion. Yes, that is legalese. Essentially what
A
it
lot of
means.
defaults in there,
What's that?
a lot of defaults.
So I believe what it means, and Rory can certainly guide you,
Don't
is
kick that over to me. You're
No, no, you're the town attorney.
I'm the land
You
use
need to
attorney. I
listen
don't
up.
deal with
Yeah.
the contract
Yeah.
stuff.
Gotcha,
Okay.
Phil. Got it.
Absolutely.
I'll listen up, Phil. Thank
What?
you.
What did
I
you
said I'll
say?
listen up.
So it just simply means that if the town, if the developer makes a default, if we don't pay the $90,000, and that's not a waiver by the town that we haven't met our obligations. So if we don't pay the $90,000 and somehow we start building, you can, come after us and it makes it an enforceable document.
So that's an interesting point then. If this is passed, then when do we receive the 90,000?
I can talk to my client, I'm sure we can get it, you would need it before we pull a building permit.
Right.
But I'm sure we can expedite that if we get through this evening.
Okay, and
Well,
that's,
but it'll never get to a point where we don't get it and you get a building permit.
It will never get to that point. Mr. Leva would likely never let that happen.
Right, and that's cash.
It's cash, check, yes.
Cash.
It's not a
Yes.
bond.
It's-
Right, no, no bond.
No bond, no letter of credit, it's cash.
You done, George?
I think so. I just want to look through these other things, but go ahead, Joe.
I just got one question. How did the number change and who changed it? Okay. Can you give us an idea of why it changed?
Sure. So the applicant provided calculations and an explanation as to why the number should be 44,774. They basically looked at the intersection of Route 17M and County Route 50. The improvements required there required the complete replacement of the signal, and the cost of the signal was $434,700 and something, right? And so they based, and their contribution was 10.2% of that, 10.2% of that is
Right.
44,000.
Right.
What they neglected to include was the other intersections that were listed in the seeker findings, that they were also supposed to make a fair share contribution. And so I basically called them to the carpet on it, and I looked at what it might cost, and it came up, and it was more or less the same, so it doubled.
And you're agreeing with that?
Correct, we agree.
That's all I have.
I don't have anything else either.
So when we move forward, or if we move forward with the project, there'll be DOT inspectors, there'll be DOT lawyers, there'll be a set of plans with all the drawings, and everything is gonna be exactly done exactly the right way. I'm just saying this because I
Yes.
think it should be said, and that's
Sure.
the way it gets done.
Yes, back to the point about the permit conditions require us to complete those according to the drawings that we designed and I stamped, okay? And I just want one other clarification. The original design did not carry that full width that I talked about.
Right.
It was 800,000. The DOT required us to extend that extension. The bond that they're requiring now is 950,000 because of the additional
The
work.
additional
So
work.
just a
Okay.
clarification,
No, that's
that my
good.
numbers
Okay.
were, the original design was 800,000, it's now 950, which is the bond that we have to place, so.
And then
But
it's-
yes, it'll all be done, it gets inspected, it's a requirement of the permit that the inspection is done by a third party representing DOT, the eyes and ears of DOT plus DOT, but DOT can't be there the entire time, so they require what's called consultant inspection. And the permit and a bond, and that has to be posted, that bond does not get released until DOT is 100% satisfied, the as-built plans are filed, and the permit then gets closed out.
So, with the extension that the DOT required?
Yes.
Or with the widening?
Yes.
Has that come before the planning board also?
Yes.
Only because it will affect other properties
Yes,
along that route? And once
Yes.
again, we're not only dealing with yours, we're
Yes.
dealing with other properties.
Yes,
So
it's-
that site plan has already been
that improvement
submitted to
plan
them?
has been presented to not only the DOT, but the planning board.
Well,
They are aware of it, they have copies, the town has copies. of
have
it.
they approved that new site plan with the addition?
That would not be
Go
subject
ahead.
to site plan approval. Just as if your highway superintendent maybe goes out and does some work on a town road, he doesn't come for site plan.
Okay, all right, only because I know it affects other properties
No,
along that road.
it has.
It's
Yeah.
within the right of way of
Of
the
the
state
town-
highway.
state highway.
The state highway.
Okay, good.
Those additional work.
Fine, thank you.
Just so I know, is that, the extension goes to Hartley Road? Is that-
No, it's not quite up to Hartley Road, but it's in that direction.
Okay.
And the reason DOT is looking at that to be able to, they don't want the road to be widened, tapered back to the two-lane road, and then all of a sudden it then has to be extended at some point in the future. So the widening for the full width allows them to continue to add on to in the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nope, my question was what changed the amount, so you asked.
I do have one more question. The expansion of the road or the widening of the road, is that being done simultaneously with the building of the building?
It has to be completed before any occupancy of the building.
So they can go
They-
simultaneously, but you can't get a CO?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
So, Rory, you've reviewed the
Yeah.
developer's agreement?
I have.
Do you have any
Nothing to add that hasn't been discussed already. I don't want to diminish developers' agreements, but they are, for the purposes of my review, somewhat boilerplate. You know, what their role is, the numbers I don't ever assess, that's you guys, but legally, I have no issue with the contract at all. Standard, so.
Okay, all right, good.
So with that being, anybody have anything else? No? So I guess with that being said,
Yeah.
could I get a motion to approve the developers agreement and sign it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, roll call?
Better get a roll call.
You know, I say you do a roll call on everything, so if
Councilmember
you're gonna ask me, I'm
Panzarino?
gonna say yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right.
Councilmember Anthorina?
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons?
Aye.
Councilmember Florio?
All right.
Councilmember Gallo?
Aye.
Supervisor Petra?
Aye.
Thank you,
Guys,
gentlemen. Have a good
I'll
night.
expect a check tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're closed, by the way.
I'm in a good mood. My son's baseball team made the championship.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
What school is that?
Up in Saratoga.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
All right. Next item on the agenda, public hearing on introductory law number 4 of 2025 entitled a local law to amend the town of Goshen code at chapter 70 entitled noise to prohibit refuse collection vehicles from, but it's from collection of refuse, solid waste, and recyclables from residential property between the hours of 9 and 6 a.m. So I get first I want a motion to make this a type 2 action. So moved.
Second.
Yeah? You doing a roll call?
We don't need a roll call.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion from the board?
I just had, well, I had mentioned it to Rory as well, just on page 2, under prohibited noises. At the top, it should be 6 a.m., not 5:30 a.m. At least on my version, it hadn't been updated. It was
But
still-
yeah, the version that was distributed with the meeting packet reflects what councilperson.
That should be 6
It's
a.m.
at 5:30, I have 5:30.
Yeah, it
No,
should be
I
6.
got 5:32.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
So it's.
and if you do move forward tonight, it will
It's
be
changed,
conditioned.
changed to 6,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
And the, well, are you finished, Melissa?
Yep, yes.
Okay. The only, other thing I had is.
Which page you on, George?
Well, it'd be either 2 or 3. There's no severability clause.
There is a superseding provision though.
There is a superseding
I-
provision, but no severability clause.
Sure.
That's kind of important, right? That-
Yes, I mean, it's its own section, but it's not gonna hurt to put it in, so I have no issue with putting a severability clause in. It doesn't have to be, to me, it's not on everything, but I have no issue with that. So put that in, the section, we'll call that, either 6 or, 6 or 7.
5A.
Yeah. Call it, if you call it 6, I'm sorry, if you call it 7 and amend effective date to 8, that's the least amount of changes,
Okay.
so.
Anybody else on the board like to speak on it? Or-
No.
All right, anybody from the public want to speak on it? For or against? Nick, Ed?
Thank you, Neil Howard. I really thought you were gonna make it later than 6 o'clock, because I thought that people were concerned about being woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I don't care, I'm not an issue for me, but I thought it was gonna be later than that. And the second thing I think is that you probably have to define residential properties, maybe it's in the zoning or whatever, because I have property on Coleman Road, and I don't know that it's residential or not, I don't think I really care out there, but somebody's gonna care. So I think you have to somehow define that.
Well, if I can address that, and I wrestled with this, I might even talk to you about it when it was originally came out. I took residential, I went to the 3 main companies that do this, and how they divided up their practices into commercial and residential, and they all have something similar to that as what they tagline, what they do. I figured, that the enforceability, if there was a commercial garbage refuse pickup operating outside of the time frame, we wouldn't be able to enforce it, so it kind of it works itself back that way. Non-commercial would be residential, but if you get into mixed use, I don't know, so.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried.
If you have a suggestion based on
I
your
got
past
it.
role, and I would be open to it, that's the best I.
Yeah, I know at this point in time, I wasn't considering it until night, but I know like on Coleman Road, I have a farm and that's no big deal.
Right.
Right next to me are 2 more houses, or 4 more houses going down the
Sure.
road. They may have a big deal about it.
I think that what, this is gonna sound a little backwards of a way to prepare a law, but once it's attempted to be enforced, if there's a novel concept that beats it, then I'll adjust off of that. I'm not being sarcastic.
Yeah, no.
There's an urgency to get this on the books. Could it have a flaw in it? Potentially, but I think we would figure that
No,
out.
I just thrown up there. if the
No, I
town wants to
appreciate
think
that.
about it some way or other
I
day.
just wish I don't have a solution better than what I came.
And I don't have one tonight to offer,
Thanks.
I really don't,
Well,
okay?
and also just to speak to the time, where I live in Hamiltonian Park was scheduled for commercial. So we were having 4:15 pickup, so after 6 AM is very welcome.
I think that the other part of why it may have been a 6, and was because of the buses. I think you start to get into that kind of
Yep.
crossover, and it was like, let's make sure we're safe on that. That's what my recollection of the reason was.
I have no complaint about it in any
I-
form. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? No? All right, so I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so,
Yep.
we adopt? Yeah.
Yep. You closed it? Did you vote on the adopting it? I didn't hear.
No.
you.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah.
that's the next step.
Okay.
All right, so I need a motion to adopt introductory local law 4 of 2025, and making it what?
Local law 3.
Local law 3 of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Huh? Roll-
Roll call.
Roll call, for sure.
Councilmember Gallo?
Aye.
Councilmember Florio?
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons?
Aye.
Councilmember Campirino?
Aye.
Supervisor Petra?
Aye.
I'm waiting still on the planning board stuff, so it's not.
You're not doing comments, right?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll just-
all we're just gonna do is continue the public hearing because we don't have.
You're gonna open it and continue it?
Well,
We don't need to
we don't
open
need-
it.
we don't need to open it,
because
just need to continue.
We never
Fair enough.
closed it.
This is on short term?
Yeah, I just wanna let me give it, I'll give an update, and then that would lead into segments. So, town code dictates that, when a law like this is referred to the planning board, usually it's a 30-day window with the county, GML 239, I'm not gonna bore everybody with the details. Planning board has 45 days to respond. They did have this on their agenda last week. I do expect some commentary in the near future. The earliest projecting out to 45 days and the following meeting is I think it's July 10th meeting would be the first date of action, unless we get the comments earlier and I'm able to then move it up. But because it's a public hearing, I'm of the opinion you need a date certain to schedule it to. And I see Dr. Veet here, I see a lot of folks here that have been participants in this, and I don't want to drag people back until action can be taken. However, it's summer, and I know that people want this in the book, so I'll defer to y'all as when you set the date down, but the earliest without them, if they hit on the 45th day, the earliest we'd be able to act is July 10th. So that would be my suggestion. If you guys want to move it up in hopes that they provide us commentary early, that's fine, but it might wind up in this again. And I know that's a bit frustrating to
So
people.
what is the date, what would our town board meeting date be for the?
July 10th. July 10th would
July
be a guaranteed be able to take action. Well, off of the planning board stuff, their time would have expired, so either they provide comments or they don't. It's the same way the county's reply works, which we're awaiting. They've surpassed their 30 days, but the system is a little, it says that there's a response when we pulled it today, but I don't have those comments yet.
Okay.
And And they may have no comments, they may be a local determination type referral back. So, that would be my suggestion, and, yeah, so you. Well, I mean, the commentary's been presented. If anybody has any additional written comments, I'm certainly open to them. I've received some, and at the final public hearing, if people haven't had them, Mary usually gets them and then forwards them to me. So I'm assuming that you guys would have anything I've seen, which isn't a lot. It's high impact ones, but not a lot for a lot of people.
Yep. Well, it is a public hearing. If anybody in the public wants to speak on anything that they haven't spoken on prior, we don't need a regurgitation of what we know already. Anything new? Sal?
I'll be quick. I don't want to take too much time. I've already commented on this twice about my feelings about the short-term rental law. I think that they should be allowed for owner-occupied properties only, because the problem ones are the ones that are absentee landlords. And I made these comments last time, and on my way out, a gentleman stopped me and he mentioned something, so I just wanted to repeat that. He's a farmer, he's got outbuildings on his property. He mentioned the potential of renting them. And on a farm, that's obviously difficult to rent something long-term. You're finding a tenant who can deal with the noise and the smell, and it can be difficult. But he mentioned the short-term rental being an option for him, and for farms and farmers that sometimes operate on a tight margin and have to deal with all sorts of chaotic things like, you know, fuel prices and weather and things like that. It might be nice to have an available option to earn some money on the side, doing short-term rentals on your property in a regulated manner. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that in addition to other means of doing short-term rental, there are ways of doing it that are beneficial and are not harmful to other residents. And I think I just want to mention that real quick.
I just want to piggyback off that. I did discuss this with you, and I would be looking to explore this as soon as we get through this stage. The owner occupied, I think the code actually affords for potentially for something like that scenario. It may need to be amended or fleshed out, but I don't think this completely rules out an owner occupied rental situation. It rules out what it rules out.
Yeah, it's just, if you hear a short-term rental ban, people are gonna think they can't do it. But I understand, and yeah, in the code, there is, like, if you were to update or expand the B&B provision, for example, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's potential there.
Sal, it's like the noise thing, right? This isn't perfect. We can get something on the books and we'll start to, and then see if we can explore the things that it didn't accomplish and how to fix those.
Right.
I'm not suggesting that supports it or doesn't, but as getting a perfect thing in here has been a little tricky, so.
Yeah. Understood.
All right, thank you.
No, thanks.
Any other comment?
Okay, I'll try to make it quick. George Veit from Goshen. This, I hope I'm reading this right, maybe you guys can tell me, but I went to Airbnb website, and this was on there because the reason I bring it up is we had to call the police for noise last week, and I was speaking to the patrolman, and he said, we can't do anything because it's considered residential. This is what Airbnb says. I'll be real quick. Airbnb can be considered a business if it is built in a residential zone and is used for short-term rentals. The key factor is the owner's intent and the property use. If the property is rented out regularly and at a profit, it can be a commercial property, and vice versa. So I know maybe I've been misinterpreting what I've been hearing from several people, but it's residential even if it's a business now. According to Airbnb, they don't even believe that. So something to look at. The other thing is, I just look at the one next to us, and enforcement is tough because it's very hard to get the people that are watching over it. What are they called again?
They're hosts.
The host to answer you. But anyway, looking at the one that has near me, it says on the website they can have 16+ guests. A lot of guests. Maybe we want to put a.
I've got to stop.
Oh,
I'm
have you
sorry.
seen this?
It's an outright ban.
I'm sorry?
It's an outright
It's outright
ban.
ban.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
All right, and you keep
So I don't
adding
have to
caveats.
worry.
You're giving back to the people you're trying to stop.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. Well,
I
thank you
got
for that.
This
Thank-
bill is crafted for you.
This
I
bud's
swear,
for you.
I swear it is. It's-
Okay,
we
no.
don't even,
Thank
we
you-
don't
thank you
normally
for-
name them, but, you know.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
I feel better now.
I got you. I've got your interest in mind. The board has listened, and
thank
and
you.
here we go.
Yeah, okay. That's it? Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Motion to continue.
Continue.
I will not make some comments.
Yeah, sorry, George, I didn't mean.
Well,
What's that?
Oh, that's
No,
right.
Different George,
Different George.
sorry.
I'm really still wrestling with this thing, and I can conceive we could vote for an outright ban. But, I've been speaking to even some of the board members, and, I don't even know whether everybody is totally on board with a total ban. And I didn't want this to continue to go on until the 10th and then do a surprise. So what I did, actually Melissa actually got it for me, I got a copy of the village ordinance for Airbnbs. And I'll try and go over it quickly, but I think if we have the constraints that the village has in their law here, I think possibly we could live with this. But as I said, I'm gonna go over these different types of things. I'm still open. I mean, I still may wind up voting
That was the first
negative.
bill, that was the
Negative.
first law, George.
No, what happened when, I guess the consensus here was I was absent. that
Oh, I'm, not- listen, I'm,
So, all I'm telling you is I think that possibly there's enough constraints that you can put in that we don't have to have a total.
I don't disagree from a legal standpoint. And it would be, that would have been my suggestion in some variation of the village to the regulation. But I think, and I'm not saying that you have to vote on the bill that's before you, but a certain point.
changes everything.
Yeah, at a certain point, it's, because this is the second time I go around with the planning board. And let's get it right, whatever. This is not to be critical of it. I'm more just looking into the future. And at a certain point, we have to pull everything back because this is not in the bill that, I don't even know that if we change it again, that it could go to a public hearing, be new introductory local law at a certain point. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. I just more
Yeah, it would
making
be.
sure that I clarify before.
But I certainly don't wanna spend the time to create a law that bans it just to come back around and
Then
look
you
at a
can
law
reject
that
this iteration.
modifies it.
At some point, there's gotta be, action, even if the action is no, we don't like this one, go back to the drawing board, because it's a year and a half in, and it's tough because everybody's got an opinion. I use this example, right? It's like you go to a restaurant and you start telling, one person wants salt in that, and the other person wants pepper in it, and they go, oh, everybody wants their stuff. It's hard because we want the suggestions in, but at a certain point, we gotta put something in front of them, otherwise it just keeps becoming a hodgepodge. Like, that's why this law is.
You can't introduce the village's allowance of it on a local law that you're prohibiting it. It changes the entire scope.
Well, it's called, that bill is regulation.
Right. Right, but
No, I'm saying that what we have right now is an outright ban.
Correct.
Right? So the first proposed law, which had a lot of stuff left for the planning board, right, had the ability to restrain. There was a permit process and things of that nature, which gives an extra line of defense that if the winds of change or something we didn't think about, allows the board to consider it. The same way a B&B supposed to come before the planning board, so they can make sure that the house can, or residents can handle whatever they're proposing, right? There's another line of it, because there's so many different ways this can be presented. So,
yeah, George, finish up your.
I just wanna make sure, listen, personally, that's what I think legally is the best way to do it.
Well, there's that thought that we're gonna be sued, yeah, by that, a lot of people sue us, so I mean, I can live with that, but if we don't have to, well, then fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, just let me go through these quickly.
I
because
apologize,
I
George,
think
I
it's
just
important
wanted
for
to
the
make sure.
public to know it, and maybe the public can respond, that they feel, oh, you're still a little wet, just ban it, or maybe with these constraints, people can live with it. So anyway, it's only permitted in the R2 and the R3 areas. I know we have different zoning and stuff like that, but essentially it's not permitted in an R1 like George's house. Only single-family dwellings, owner-occupied property, only owner-occupied property may be used, has to register with the town, in this case the village. No parking spaces can be added on. No illegal conduct. It's prohibited from subleasing to other leasing people, like the people who run these Airbnbs. Tenants have to be aware of the noise ordinance and adhere to it. All garbage, rubbish, and recyclables have to be stored and placed on the curb as they leave. Then it goes on to getting a permit. They have to have a notarized statement that the short-term rental property is owner-occupied for more than 50% of the calendar year. If in fact there is no municipal water and sewer, which would be in the town, then it has to be maintained in conformance with DOH regulations. I added another thing, which is not in the village. Owner must be present during the rental.
Yeah.
And any violation of all of these different things that I said, then the permit would be lifted for at least 90 days.
And
They have to have adequate insurance. The property owner has to contact the building inspector to schedule an inspection. It has to have all the village codes, so it may not be able to do it because the stairs are too steep or any other things like that. The registration may not be transferred to any other person or property. The building inspector may deny the application, and I put in no more than 10 rentals per year.
George, if I could just ask in the future that you forward me your comments, since they're legal.
I just
in
got
nature.
this, this was just forwarded to me. So.
It's been a,
Yeah.
all right, I just, we
Well,
got, why don't we pull
Listen, Rory, I'm kind of up in the air over this.
I respect
And
that.
there's more than one board member that's up in the air. And there's some people in the public that are up in
And
the air.
that's great.
Over these types of things. Basically what I'm saying, and I think I'll kind of finish with that, there were some other things. But essentially, if you put in the proper constraints in this Airbnb, I think it's a better way to go than an outright ban. Because there's 60, so I'm told, I didn't look, but there's 60 Airbnbs now in Goshen. So, you know, you can have a total ban, but that doesn't mean they go away. You know, there's, I would say we have a ban, and then, you know, there's still gonna be Airbnbs around you. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
I would be so concerned on the enforcement portion
That's
of
exactly
every
what
one of
I'm
those items that they have to do. It would be impossible, colossal to enforce any of those restrictions.
I think enforcement's
For
gonna be the
me,
hardest part.
Well,
For anything,
yeah,
regardless.
right, but an outright ban would be an outright ban. There's no gray matter. You can't do it, period. And I'm not saying either way, but what I'm saying to you is, after you read all the regulations, we can't even enforce what we have now on a very simple basis. The enforcement of the garbage has to be out and this has to be, and it's so many things that I think it would be so convoluted that it really would be hard to maintain, and George would have 16 people living next to him doing legalese type stuff, right? So I don't know. I just throw that out. I won't say any more. That's all. I just, yeah.
I mean,
that's
to
all.
your point, Phil, I think
Yeah.
enforcement is gonna be hard either way. I mean, whether we do it or we don't do it, I think enforcement for people who are doing it, who should be doing it, is gonna be difficult as well, so.
Yeah, okay.
It's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
my suggestion would be that we go to the 10th and you vote at the 10th on where we are and what's been in front of the group for a while.
Yeah.
And if it fails, then we get back to work. If it passes, we still get back to work. All right, because we can make it, we can amend that immediately. Phil, to your
I
point,
understand.
I mean, everybody's point, enforceability is the hardest part. The easiest enforceable one would be an outright ban, right? And then you work back, but I just think action needs to be taken, even if it's a no, and
I think you're correct.
It's
yeah.
okay.
And I appreciate the suggestion, George, I
It
like
should,
that
It should
direction.
stay on to the, on the 10th, you said, right?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, on the town, because I was gonna make a motion right now.
I-
Get it done, I was ready.
I-
Okay, you're good.
You can't because of the planning board, otherwise I would have supported that, Phil.
I know that, yeah, we gotta get it out of your hair and
Thank
get
you.
it done, okay,
You
all
want to add
right.
something, Neil?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I think in all honesty, if we look at what we have on our books right now, we have something that's more lenient than what George just said. Because I think that what we really are saying, we do allow B&Bs in the town, which says registered and all those other kind of things, and we currently allow that. Even with this total ban that we're talking about, it's not a total ban because we said in the total ban that we're gonna allow B&Bs.
Right.
So we're really going back to what we are right now, we're just saying, we're not allowing these B&Bs where there are no owners there. One of the things we did when we talked about owners at the B&Bs for the town is somebody has to come in and show us a driver's license that you're living there.
Sure.
And so that's one way to do it, or you can do voter
Well,
registration.
we have the presumptions, that's why, and
Sure.
that list will grow, so an ID,
Yep.
you know, if they show an ID and it doesn't have that address, well, that's a negative.
So I think what George was really proposing was actually more strict than what we already have, and I'm okay with that maybe, but in all honesty, what we currently have, and even with this total ban, we're not in any worse shape than what we are right now.
Yeah, it's just, I think the presumptions help a lot,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
if you
yeah.
post it, let's just take the 60 that are out there, and chip away, right? And
Sure.
then the message gets out, and then, you know, then there's people like, well, I do it this way, and then maybe we come back, and, but there's gotta be, and there's no hook to enforce right now, current code.
Yeah, okay. I was at the planning board meeting the other night.
I hear you.
And at the planning board meeting, the basic concern they had there was kind of the thing that they thought that at the beginning of the code, there would be more specifications as to what concerns the town board really has, what the negative things
For
are.
intent, legislative intent.
Right, and
Yeah.
that was really what I think most of the conversation was
Okay.
for the planning board.
Yeah, I can flesh that out, but I'll wait till their comments.
Yeah, that's fine. And then the last thing I had to say was, when I read this public notice tonight, it really looked like you were still recommending that you are going to go through with having Airbnbs. So I think the title here is kind of misleading. I don't think that was what the intention was for tonight. But, all right, thank you. It says that the code is to require owners of short-term rentals to obtain short-term rental permit and to amend the town code in order to adequately, I don't think that was what your
That was
intention
the
was.
old one. Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
old one.
I realized that, and I was hoping that was just incorrect.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
I need a motion to continue this to July 10th, July 10th.
so moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Want to do the police officer now?
No, I'm gonna let, they need to stay here longer.
Can I you do 5 and 6, Joe?
I don't know, I'm dying, my phone went dead.
I don't know what they
everything.
are, but then.
5, we do 5 and 6.
You guys have air conditioning?
I'm going to the, I'm gonna go to,
Somebody
five,
want to turn on the air
six,
conditioner, Joe?
7, and then come back to the.
It wasn't hot
All
until
right,
you said
so
it.
I'm gonna go up
Doesn't
this.
have numbers.
I can see the
Oh,
temperature.
okay. Diane made the bid.
It's
Diane
gone over
made the bid.
degrees. IMA,
Yeah, okay, I didn't know if your numbers were the same.
Yeah.
excuse me.
All right,
Sir.
I'm just gonna skip around a little bit for a couple of reasons, but, I wanna keep the new police officers here for a while.
Can we turn on the air conditioning?
I don't know what's going on.
Well, there's a thing there, it says
That was- we
76.
did that in
It's a
case
shorter
Mr. Healy
meeting
was
when
gonna
it's
talk
hotter,
too
so
long, one of
doesn't
the-
someone have a button?
Like the old
Move on
juror
with the
rule, you
agenda,
know?
let's
You
get
know,
this
and
thing
all of a
over.
sudden they come
Let's
to
get
a
this
verdict.
torture over with.
Tactic.
Yeah.
If it's hotter, you guys will
Come
go
on.
on a lot faster.
No.
No, I'm just saying, I'm shrinking like
If
a
I
little
swipe you
tickle.
out,
I got my
What's
stuff
next
up
on
from
your
the I
agenda,
can stick
Joe?
it out.
Gotta get ice water for everybody.
What's next on your agenda?
Next item on the agenda, I'm skipping to item number 5, which
Okay.
is discuss the intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Goshen.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn it over to Melissa, she's worked a butt off on this.
extensively. So, yes, I'm very excited about this project. This is the Erie Park renovation. Just to give everyone a little background, 2024, the Village of Goshen applied for and was awarded a CREST grant, which is very hard to say. It's the Community Resilience Resiliency, Economic, Sustainability, and Technology grant to renovate Erie Park. Obviously, an older park, definitely needed some updating. It's a park that both village and town people use extensively. And so our new park will include 2 pickleball courts, 2 basketball courts of a rehab, 1 new 30-by-30 pavilion, 1 bathroom building, 1 existing soccer field rehabilitation, a new chain link fencing around the park, new playground equipment, and poured rubber, 2,500 square feet. We had an IMA drafted between the village and the town. We don't have the most recent version, but I believe that Mary had sent out one of the older versions.
Yeah.
So a lot of, not a lot has changed. A few things have changed, and I'm gonna try to walk us through since we don't have, I would say the first page, I believe it was just a change from April to June. There was, dated at the top, the agreement. And then if you drop down to the estimated cost for the project, is now gonna be $589,873. And also, I did give you all a handout. There is a spreadsheet on the back side, on the second page, which sort of lays out all of the costs for the project. The CREST grant award was $450,000. So we have a remaining balance of $139,873. And the village and the town are going to be splitting that cost. So if you come down, the bottom, what the bottom line of the town is going to be contributing is $99,000. And so just going back to the IMA briefly, after just going through the spreadsheet, on the second page, your current 3 and 4 are gone, those bullet points. And now it's going to read that the town and village agree to split the project cost in excess of the grant equally. And this amounts to $199,664.41, or $99,532.21 as per the attached spreadsheet. So that was the spreadsheet that I had given to you.
Okay.
So that, I think, is really, and other than the dates on the last page, are the things that are gonna be changing in the IMA. I know that Rory and Dave, the village attorney, went through it extensively. And I know we have the village here to support us, JRC to support us, and I wanted to thank them also for doing a lot of work for this grant. I think it's gonna be great. Erie Park is amazing. You know, our current Craigville does close down. Not closed down, but they have a summer camp there, and children who can't go to the summer camp really don't have somewhere to go. And so the Village Park will become very important to town and village people. I think it's a great project. I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna make Goshen the beacon. I mean, we're gonna have the most beautiful parks. So we already, you know, and also, I'm sorry, the pavilion was also donated to us by TAM. They're including the pavilion for nothing. So that was a $0 charge. So,
Need a motion to second? You need a
Any other
motion?
discussion?
Well,
Go ahead, Rory.
so, just to the part where I talked to Attorney Donovan, I explained, the numbers I didn't have anything to do with, just any of the mechanics in the IMA. I don't know, I'll leave it to the village to see how far they got on the conversations I had with Attorney Donovan and on their end. I think they want approval this iteration tonight
Right.
from you guys.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure, I didn't know
Yeah.
where everybody's knowledge.
Yeah, you guys can finalize what has to be done, and then we'll.
All right, so subject, condition, subject to.
Yep.
I'm good with this iteration, but I'm.
Subject to the correct numbers.
Correct numbers and any tweaks that don't change it materially from the attorney's ends to make sure that the IMA is effective. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's a good IMA.
Yeah, well, a couple of things.
Yeah. Page one?
Kind of detailed. First of all, I support the thing, 100%. It's a great project, and Erie Street was used this year in the village. Great that the village was able to receive the GRESS grant. So just some details, the pavilion actually should be in there. That is not included in the things, you know, where it says pickleball courts and restoration, so the pavilion should be included, I assume. You said that the total amount of the project is $589,873?
That's correct.
Yes.
All right, okay.
Correct.
So if the grant is $450, and we kick in 100, and the village kicks in 100,
Well,
that brings it up to.
well, let me just stop for a
650.
second, because what happened was they had already, there were already expenses that the village had
Incurred,
for
right.
the vote.
Oh,
So
I
that
see.
was, that was another
Oh.
$59,000 that they had spent.
Okay.
They had spent money already incurring, they've incurred money
I see.
already to get to where we are today.
Okay.
Correct, that was
Right.
included in
With the
their total.
transfer from the school.
Correct.
Yep. Right, got it.
Yeah, sorry about that, yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, I don't think we have a recreation fund that can substantiate, this, all money's coming out of the parklands.
Right. No, so
No?
the 450 is going to be borrowed from B, and the 100,000 is gonna be coming out of Parkland.
Right. So the town, through the recreation fund.
Yeah, we,
That's-
sorry, that was another.
The Parkland fees.
Yeah, and
Parkland is
also
that.
we,
It's
I
actually
was,
Parkland.
It's
Rory and
not-
I
it's-
talked about
yeah.
that, pulling that language out entirely and just having the town shall pay for the project as
Right.
invoices are submitted. So it's not, we have to.
Because the parkland fees could come back up technically during the, whatever, but committing to parkland or B was just gonna be paid.
And also one more thing to note is that we talked, Trish and I had talked today as well. We believe that the costs are gonna be coming down a little bit lower. Was it on the? Oh, the poured in place rubber matting, the costs are coming down. We had a little bit of an issue, a lot of people were concerned about why it wasn't moving forward. We had a lot of issues with the tariffs. When we were really negotiating this project, the people came back and they wanted to charge us an exorbitant amount of money. We sort of had to ride out the tariff wave and wait because we weren't paying above and beyond what they wanted us to pay. So we were very lucky that they were able to keep the costs. They negotiated that as well, so.
It'll be one of the very few parks where children in wheelchairs or handicapped kids are gonna be able to access the, rides and stuff, because it's a poured rubber.
Yeah, that's great. Number 6 says county, should be changed to town. County has nothing to do with it unless I'm reading this wrong.
My 6 says in accordance with the laws of the state of New York.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Maybe that's, I have another updated.
Yeah, that was a typo. Thank you, George.
And I think, those are all of the things that I had.
I've
Of course,
updated that part. so.
Molly and Trish are here, so we're going forth here. I don't know whether you want to speak to this in any way, or is there other things?
If you'd like to invite me up to speak, I'd be more than happy to.
Well,
Mayor O'Donnell, would you like to speak?
I would love to, Supervisor.
And as she comes up to the podium, one of the things I was gonna do was I was going to thank Molly and Maria Darby, Trish Sherlock, Sal Laguna, our JRC board for all of their help, guidance, and support. This really means a lot, and also to our town supervisor and our board for this collaboration. It's wonderful.
Yes, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. We've been working very hard, very diligently. I'd like to thank JRC Chair Sal Bruna and our Recreation Coordinator Trish Sherlock. They've really been leading the charge here. I'm happy to say we did get an updated quote late this afternoon. That 99,533 comes down to 93,783 split. All right, we were able to save some money on the poured rubber. The 2,500 square feet is not needed. We have a nice map of the actual locations of where the playground equipment is gonna go. And that 2,500 was able to be reduced to 2,000, saving another $11,500.
Great.
I know the attorneys have been speaking, which is great. So we are grateful for the town's support and hope that you're able to pass this. If any questions you have, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Molly. Yeah.
Great job.
So, I just want to make a note, that as far as the agreement, I think we can pass the agreement. I don't think that we have to put anything in about the pavilion, because there's nothing on the contract, we have no legal, so it's going to be donated, so
Yes.
that's not really an issue, so we should be able to pass a clean agreement without
I would agree.
putting anything in there about a
Other than
pavilion.
changing the numbers
That's
to
not-
the correct numbers.
Just the numbers, that's
Yep.
all,
The
yeah.
numbers have to
Okay?
be updated,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
I
Yeah.
don't understand that. If you have all the things that are delineated there, why shouldn't the pavilion be as part of it?
Because we don't have anything
We're not paying
legal.
for it.
If we're, that's a third party that's a,
Yeah,
that's
you may not
hands.
give it to us.
I know that, but it says the capital improvements that are gonna be made, and
Oh,
one of them is
I will
a
say that
pavilion.
it's not included because it was a donation,
It's a
but
donation.
if that's something that would make you feel more comfortable by adding that in, I have no problem with that.
We may not get it. He may not give us the donation. We're not gonna make this part of an agreement between, this is an agreement between
For what
us
we're actually
and the
paying
village.
for what we're actually
I
purchasing.
understand.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
and-
But part and parcel of this whole agreement is that there is gonna be a pavilion there, and it's gonna be donated. So I
It could be in there, it could be in there, it doesn't need to be in there.
Yeah.
But it's simple
And
enough.
one thing I was gonna say that Roy and I talked about also is to have this spreadsheet when we
Yeah.
update it, you know, it's gonna be a not to exceed number. It could always come down, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
But it
that's
cannot
great.
exceed
Came
this
down
amount.
already.
And we could also attach this spreadsheet as well, so that everyone knows exactly what the breakout is of,
Yeah.
per.
Yes, so hopefully the board is able to approve this, and then the village will push forward. JRC on Tuesday approved the actual equipment, which is awesome. Thank you so much, JRC board. So we're ready to go. We're ready.
So thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you so
Nice
much,
work.
Ron.
All right, if there are no other comments, I'd like somebody to make a motion to move forward with the intermunicipal agreement.
To authorize the
Melissa.
supervisor to sign the intermunicipal agreement as modified this evening.
There you go, that's it.
So
All right, that's all.
moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Cantorino.
Aye.
Councilmember Lyon.
Aye.
Councilmember Florio.
Aye.
Councilmember Gallo.
Aye.
Supervisor Petra.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, and then, number 6, right? Okay. We discussed the bid for a townwide garbage collection.
Do you want me to say my part?
Yeah.
Okay, so, as you guys got this pretty late in the, process for prior to last board meeting, and as far as RFPs go, this is about as long an RFP as you're gonna find. Being mindful of, budgetary thing, I didn't draft it, I asked the supervisor, how we could do this where, before I dive into a 20-page document and make sure everything matches up, that I didn't draft, which is almost sometimes harder than drafting it. Let's see, kind of polling the group here, do we wanna, like, that was how it was presented, it's really just exploring whether conceptually we wanna have numbers in front of us, and explore whether it's worth then really diving into it. So, George, I got your comments, and I thought they were spot on. You have a good eye for detail when it comes to those things, and so I appreciated that, especially with a lengthy document like that. But I didn't go through with a fine-tooth comb. So if you guys are doing anything with it, it would be on the concept of putting an RFP out, see what kind of numbers we get back. We're not committing to anything, all right?
That's my question.
Yeah.
So there's no commitment, it's just the
No.
bid process.
It's just to get soliciting numbers, it's a free bite at the apple, in my opinion, even if the RFP, for some reason, something comes back, we notice, okay, well, we got bids and that this doesn't seem right, and you figure it out, and you can put that back out, you don't have to take anything.
Correct. It's
So,
just a request for.
I just, this is, I guess, a CYA on my end, I didn't go through with a fine-tooth comb.
No, but we talked about that.
I just
Why-
wanna make
why-
sure
yeah,
that-
Why spend 6, 7, 8, 9 hours until we can determine whether we're gonna move forward with it?
This is what attorneys do
I
when
got
they
you.
didn't review. So that it's known that I purposely
Billable
did.
hours.
Yeah, and I wanted to, yes, we're being fiscally responsible.
No, when we get the bids.
I'll just focus on short-term rentals in the meantime.
When we get the bids, people are not gonna be required to, it's-
Right.
We're not required to
It's
act
just-
on a bid.
no, but even if we get the bid and act on the bid, all the people that are recipients or people don't wanna participate, are they gonna have to participate in this?
Well, I think that's part two of the discussion, right? It's like, let's see if the
Yeah.
numbers are even worth having the discussion, right?
Right,
And if
okay.
they are, so then that's gonna
Yeah,
dictate
okay.
people's participation level, right?
Yeah, but we'll go through the,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
we're
I-
not even sure, we believe that you might have to create a
Potentially.
waste district.
I've seen it
Therefore,
done in
that-
other
There's no
municipalities.
board, there's no
Public
district.
hearing,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
this is strictly to get pricing
Yeah,
to see.
good, all right, yeah, that's That's reasonable.
to see if there's a reduction in cost to every resident that
It
wants to
might be a big reduction.
Yeah, it might only make sense to one part of the town, or, you know, two
Yeah,
parts of the
yeah.
town, so the district idea may not be mandatory, but may be prudent, you know, so.
Yes, yeah, I got it, okay.
So,
It's just,
so the document then, if it's going out for the bids,
Yep.
you're going to review it now?
Well, so it's a cursory review, that bid has, that RFP went live already and resulted in it was the village agreement with
It was given to me by the,
Village agreement with
well, it was given to me by the
town
supervisor.
supervisor,
for the town
but
of
done when
Milwaukee.
he was,
They had just gone through it, so
Yeah.
they gave us a boatload of money.
he did it when he was mayor, so
Correct.
that's why he's familiar with it. So again, a stamp of approval on it is that it resulted in bids and they went forward on it. But no, I'm not going through that with a fine tooth comb unless directed.
No.
No, I don't
I-
think you should,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think you should review it because bidders are gonna pick that
No,
back
no, no,
up.
Mayor. I think what he's saying is he's not gonna go through it until we approve it to move forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm saying if we publish the RFP.
Oh, no,
We're not
I'm gonna-
it
publish
has
it
to be
until he's
ready.
done. Correct.
Yes, I haven't gone through it purposely, and George did, he put in enough time already to let me know that I have to review it. Just on the things that,
Right, exactly.
well, I mean, there was things that could not function, so I'm not sure if this was a draft, you know.
It was taken, but no, it was reference to school district.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right, there's things that, and I would like to, you know, designate you my co-pilot on that,
Yeah,
George.
so I didn't get that copy back. You have the?
He's gonna vote no now.
You have my copy?
I do, George.
I have it as well, but I didn't put the edits in
Yeah, okay.
because I was waiting to be authorized, that's all.
What I'm saying at this particular point is I don't have a problem with sending out for a bid.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's all we're doing.
We just wanna make sure we get the right resulting bid.
Exploratory, right,
It's just that I
exploratory.
think the bid document should be cleaned up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Before it goes out.
I just, you know how long that document is, and that's why I just asked. When I see something like that, I'm like, also I could, you know, could ask later and said,
Yeah.
sorry for the huge
No.
bill, but
I don't think you have to spend a tremendous amount of time. It's all of this boilerplate.
well, that's why I'm incorporating you in.
Rick, you have anything?
No.
No, no.
Like,
All right, so, can I have a motion to?
You don't need a motion.
Well,
No.
I got-
Rory has to work on it.
Yeah.
Inclusive of that motion.
Sorry.
Motion to agree to
Move forward with
release
the-
the RFP upon attorney review. How's that? That work?
That's good.
Sounds good.
How about a motion to just authorize the attorney to
Prepare.
prepare an RFP?
Yeah, I think that's where we're actually at.
Yeah.
Technically,
That's where
yes.
we're-
I mean, it's the same thing, but yes. that's-
What Phil said.
I have the motion.
Yes.
Bill,
I,
did you make the motion, Bill?
yes, I made the motion, yeah.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Roll call or all in
No,
favor?
we don't.
No,
All in
aye.
favor? Alright. Alright, with that said, the attorney's gotta leave us tonight.
I just wanna, for what it's worth, as a member of the public, I know Mr. Brajas quite well, he'll be a great addition to our police force. And,
Awesome.
and Miss Welsh, I'm familiar with, at her previous employment, and she was very, well respected there, so for what it's worth. I hope that doesn't hurt you guys. I don't know, I probably should have.
Go either way.
All right, thank you.
I'm just gonna continue with 7 and then I'll go back up to 2, so Luann can give us a rundown on co-file. So review and approve the co-file proposal for preserve our records. So it's a record management system there?
Yeah, Cofile is a company where they'll come in and take my, those large books I have with deaths and births. They're gonna take them, put them on digitally, and also put them in protective casing, so that water, fire, there's no more damage to them in case, because my room is not fireproof, it's not waterproof,
Not
and
safe.
it's not a safety room. So what I wanna do is start working with them this year. Next year, then they will help me get grants to proceed, and I'll do a section time by time till I get everything preserved for the town.
So total cost I'm seeing is $6,600 this year?
For this year, that's the most I'd spend, yes.
Any questions from the board?
I don't have any.
No.
Huh? motion? Do I have a motion to accept the co-file?
Authorize me to
Supervisor
sign it, yep.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Sergeant Edwards, who's here to speak on behalf of his two new candidates that are coming on board.
All right, last but not least, I'll take it. Just wanted to give a quick update to the previous hire matter. We have Natalie Welch here in the back and Jonathan Barajas, which we both put up for hire here at the town of Goshen. Also wanted to go over a couple other things besides the new hire. I know the last meeting we spoke about a couple grants that were in process, and we did get an award for one of the grants. It was $7,300 and $7,329, and that was for the ERPO grant that we put in through the state, and it's for extreme risk orders of protection. It's just basically all training money. So $7,300 is pretty good.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Wasan and the grant company helped us out pretty big with that, so that was a find from them.
So does all of the police officers get trained, or do you select certain ones?
It's gonna be for everybody. So,
It's everybody.
so it's enough money to train everybody, and I'm coordinating right now with the Orange County Police Academy to get us a block of training for everybody. It also includes a little bit of money for like a firearm safe. So pretty good. Second on the list was the blotter report. I emailed it to the town clerk and the chief earlier today. I don't know if anybody's got a chance to read it, but it's an update from the last meeting of what's pretty much been going on here in town.
Yeah.
It's been pretty busy the last few weeks, to say the least.
No, unfortunately, we had an extremely bad fire.
And that brings me up actually to my next point, Mr. Supervisor. Today, they held a successful fundraiser for the surviving family, and they made a pretty good amount of money to help them out to get back on their feet. So everything went pretty good for them.
Did they get placed yet somewhere?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Did they get placed yet somewhere? Are they still in the hotel?
They're still trying to find a permanent residence. It looks like they're moving somewhere local, obviously not in the same area. But they did get a significant amount of money today. They got a lot of donations for clothing. They got a lot of donations for, like gift cards for food and stuff like that, so.
Currently, are they still in the hotel in Chester, or?
Yes.
They are.
The school is handling, they're finding an apartment in the village, and they're hoping to use the money from the GoFundMe to pay for a year's worth of rent for the family.
Yep,
They're gonna set them up that
exactly.
way.
Yeah, she's on Social Security, right? Her husband passed away. and
Yeah,
she's-
yeah. The school's been,
Tragedy.
the Florida School District has been pivotal in helping them out, so it's been a big help for them.
Great.
And that's all I really have.
All right, well,
You guys got new computers in some of the cars?
We actually did. That was actually part of the law enforcement technology grant, just the past few days. All of our vehicles have been outfitted with brand new, up-to-date, all-in-one, like, tablets with keyboards, so everything is ready to go. They're like in-house workstations, but in every single vehicle.
They've also installed new cameras in the town hall building.
Yep, in the
And
process of that.
scheduled the front building. Really good. In case you guys haven't
So,
noticed.
Good job. That's great.
I appreciate it.
Was the other part-timer hired, Marie Parazil or something like that?
Melissa?
Melissa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, she's
Good job,
actually,
Brady.
she started 2 weeks ago.
Louis Coast?
Yeah.
On these three items?
On the police officer, hiring the police officer, because it's the personnel, so we can't discuss it.
Oh, we only have, well, discuss it if there's not an issue.
We want to go into executive session to discuss it, to discuss personnel.
You wanna go
I'll
into
make a-
executive session right now and then come back
Well,
out?
we can do it after the meeting, when we close at the end of the meeting, I want to ask to go into executive session.
So then I'm gonna have to keep them here because they're getting enrolled in training on Monday.
Okay.
Okay? So,
Whatever, I just want to ask you a couple of questions.
yeah,
that's all.
sure. All right,
I
no
have,
problem.
I have just saw this
So
now.
we'll move on, and then we'll go into executive session, and we'll come back.
Without
Unfortunately, they have to
the,
enroll
without the
all.
intent to
Fine.
return, so everybody can leave.
Well, you're gonna have to vote in public on whether we're hiring them or not.
We can do, okay, we'll
You have to
return
come.
after we
Mhm.
come out through
Yeah.
executive session.
Okay.
So, I guess unfortunately you guys have to stay a little longer.
Yep, a few moments, that's all.
All right, where puts me at, review and approve the May 22nd, 2025 town board minutes. Anybody see anything on them that jumps out at them that's incorrect? No, so can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second. George, all in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable in the amount of $229,911.86. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve a manual check run, 5/31/25, in the amount of $19,576.20. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve the budget transfer on 6/12 as requested by the budget officer. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's that great time of the night, privilege
And
of
I
the floor.
just want you to note that there was an AP review for June 12th, supplied by budget officer.
Yes.
So sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
There was an AP review supplied by the budget officer.
It's attached in your
Review.
file. It's just a normal AP.
I just have to make note of it.
I do want to say something, I want to say it when we started, Bob Smith's not here tonight, but Bob's right now in a 7-8 hour surgery down in New York City.
Right.
All right, so he's, hopefully everything's gonna be fine. He has curvature of the spine and they're fixing it so he can walk pain-free.
Wow.
I've been keeping it updated, he's still in the operating room, but, you know,
Wow.
let's all say a prayer for him, please, when we go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, privilege of the floor.
Good evening, Chris Haley, resident of Goshen. I was going to speak tonight on the townwide garbage plan. Put that to the side. I will make email my comments to the town board. I ask that you please read these comments. They're pretty insightful. Instead, threw me a curve tonight with 2602, the warehouse on Route 17M. To start, I would like to thank, once again, Councilman Cantorino, Councilman Lyons. You asked the tough questions, you held their feet to the fire, it was a bit uncomfortable, if the truth be told, but you didn't back down and you're speaking for the people, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. When we started talking about 2602, this started, it was over 2.5 years ago. The applicant came in, it was a giant rush, if nobody remembers this. They had to sign documents, they need to get through the approval process quickly. Planning jumped through hoops, zoning jumped through hoops, they got the approval, and then 2 years of nothing. At the end of 2024, RDM literally sent a letter to the planning board asking to make sure that they understood this thing was gonna time out December 20th, 2024. There was a literal motion and a vote by the planning board. They said, yes, it's going to expire unless something was done. They needed the approvals and they needed the sign off from outside approvals and a signed plan. Well, in the very last minute, they got some approvals, but they didn't get any plan. I've said this before, I still believe this application expired. With the stroke of a pen, our planning board decided to just extend it another year. Okay. We have been told by we, the public, Supervisor Betcher, you particularly said that this would be a light manufacturing facility. Ironically, it was a light manufacturing facility that made lights. And so, tonight, all the plans online are for a gigantic warehouse. Everyone tonight referred to it as a warehouse, and 340 trucks a day sounds like a warehouse. So, is this a manufacturing facility or is it a warehouse? There's a huge difference. Do we know? Am I allowed to ask the question?
I mean, as far as we know, we're being told it's 67 jobs, it's Sunlight moving up from Brooklyn, it's an assembly plant. That's what we know, that's what the applicant is telling us.
My understanding, then that's gonna be a planning issue, because when they go, and we just had this with a facility on Route 17M where it was a storage, they had to go to zoning to get it changed into manufacturing. So I think they're up against it. Without a doubt, I'm watching it every single day. Again, I do appreciate all the council members asking the questions. It wasn't a walk in the park for them, nor should it be. The changes to the town will be dramatic and forever. With ERB, we are talking about sustainability. Councilman Cantorino is leading the master plan, the comprehensive plan rewrite, and sustainability has come to our attention, and we're taking it very seriously, and this ties right into that. Warehouse versus manufacturing, the traffic, the pollution, the noise, the pain index is severe on these projects. So please give it all the due respect and process that it's going to take. Once again, I will make my comments about the townwide garbage available. Please do read them, and I do hope to speak on them again. And lastly, the short-term rental law, we're continuing the public hearing.
July 10th.
Can't believe I gotta talk about it again. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else? Neil?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Chris. I think that project was only approved by the planning board for a warehouse. There was never any consideration at that point in time for manufacturing. I think if they're gonna change it to that, it's probably a change in use. That's gonna be Frank's determination to start with. But I think it does have to come in. I'm not sure there's gonna be any big changes at all. However, we don't know what the manufacturer's gonna include or make that. There may be more traffic, less traffic, more water use, or less, I don't know what it's gonna be. But generally, we would look at that at the planning board level. So I
They'd have to come back to you. They'd
Pardon?
have to come back to the planning board and change the use.
Yeah, I think so.
Frank's not gonna issue a building permit for a manufacturing facility if it's approved for a
Yeah,
warehouse.
no, I agree. I think that's where it is. I think, that's why I think there should be almost.
Light industry falls in within a warehouse.
No, I'm not saying it can't be done there. It just has to go back and have site plan review.
I
Okay,
agree.
good. Let's go. On the parkland, and I just think I lost track of things. I think we're gonna pay 50% of what's left over that the grant's not gonna pay for. And in the meantime, I think Joe said we're gonna pay for it out of our B fund until the grant gets paid off.
We'll lend it to the village from the B fund.
Until the grant pays it back, right?
As it's done.
Right.
Not all at once.
No,
as it's done.
I agree, and I
And
think
they
that
get reimbursed.
most people think we get the grant and it's kind of, we get payments
It's
along
not
the
that
way.
type of grant.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
it's a very unique grant.
And, yeah, the
We
senator
can-
has told me that the Crest Fund is 100% in his view, so he gets to not cut the check, but it comes a lot
Right.
faster than a regular grant.
So essentially, all we're doing is putting the money out until the end of the
Correct.
project, and we get it all back, right?
Exactly.
I think that is, but I'm not sure we all know that. Thank you. And the ownership of the park is gonna be mutual ownership at the end?
I'm sorry, what?
The ownership of the park is both the town and the
Well,
village?
It just came to my attention, I was unaware of it, that we don't have a IMA between the town and the village for anything other than Salesian Park.
Right. And
So the attorneys are working on putting together an agreement,
Covering all the.
covering all the parks and, based on what we originally talked, and population and so on and so forth, what the splits will be.
Okay, we'd love to, I think the public would love to hear about the split thing, but I know that on the Solution Park, I think we ended up going into the town, I think the town paid for it all. So it would come out of our one fund where, otherwise the village people would have paid out of both funds.
Correct.
It would pay for us and the village.
Paid out of A, right,
Right.
we pay the bond, the ban out of A.
Right, okay, and so the last question
No,
I
it
have
comes out of A,
Park,
so it comes out of A, okay.
was that we have enough money in our parkland fees to pay for our half?
We have over 300,000 in there, and we have $100,000 from IWS that they donated as part of their money going backwards.
And that's going into parklands? or
Close
that's
to
going-
four, it's close to four.
Close to 400,000.
Okay, the last thing I had to say on that, and it has nothing to do with that park at all, has to do with, we have not raised our parkland fees, probably since 2004. It may have been
No,
since.
we raised them to
No, we did.
3,500 when I got in.
Okay.
Yeah, we did raise it.
Yeah.
Okay, I was not aware that you paid
Yeah.
the
We
raise
raised
since,
it
I
from 2,500
apologize.
to 3,500.
Yeah.
Okay,
Took office.
good, in that case, I thank you. The last thing is, somebody
That's the
raised.
third last thing you
No,
said.
no, no,
That's the third last thing.
Well, come on.
Go ahead.
This is just a test. Are you counting? Can you count or
I'm
not?
paying attention.
Okay. So the question, it has been raised to me that the ERB minutes are not on the town website. And I did check, because I usually don't, but I did check that, and it hasn't been on there for a long time, neither are the ZBA. So my concern is that frequently now, we have not had a secretary there to take the minutes. I was hoping that somebody's gonna at least look at the videos and type up the minutes, whatever. If we need to take care of that somehow. If she's unable to be there, and I understand she has a lot of meetings to go to, so I can understand not being able to make to all of them, but then we need to have some kind of backup. For the planning board, the backup is always Kelly Norton does it, but that's at whatever she gets paid an hour, but We need to come up with something else, please, so we can get the minutes on the website. Thank you very much.
So I think Mary has a little bit of information on this, and I have less, but I think it's very interesting. I was at another meeting, another organization last night, and it's AI, and it's called Otter, O-T-T-E-R. You purchase it for $100. You put it on your phone, you put the phone down, and it does the minutes.
Right, so, then if it's that simple, we can do it afterwards.
Well, it seems like it's too good to be true. That's what I hear.
No, I agree.
So, there's also
I
a
have GTP
suggestion
on.
that on the
ChatGTP,
YouTube,
I
there's a transcript also from the YouTube. So somebody in the office, in the building department can transcribe it during the day.
Okay, I'm okay with any of that, just so we get
I have
the
it
minutes on the agenda.
on my iPad and my iPhone. I have ChatGPT AI. That's
Yeah, ChatGPT.
Yeah,
They don't transcribe minutes, but
No.
there's another one I
Okay.
saw.
It's good, George.
Do you remember what it was public service?
$100.
And it actually had your
Mine,
ERB
all mine,
meeting on it.
Yes, you can get the free version.
Did you see it,
You
Dylan?
only do a half hour.
Citizen, something citizen, cause I checked,
Okay.
and it had Mr. Healy, big picture of Mr. Healy on it.
In any case, so all we need is a solution to this, and thank you very much.
Can I?
Neil, I'll give you, at my desk, before the next meeting, I'll give you a stick that goes on you add to the back of on a computer or something. It'll tape record the entire meeting, and then it'll transpose it into written.
Okay.
It's gonna be long.
Really?
Yeah.
And can I make a
Soup.
suggestion for the ERB? Your mics were not on. They were in front of your faces, but you have to hit the switch on the window.
On the wall.
Oh, man.
Sounds like a tech guy problem.
Oh, there, that one that we didn't
The
think
green
about.
one right there
Yeah.
has to go on in order for these to work.
Okay,
All right?
Okay?
thank you.
But I'll give you that before, before the next meeting, you can trial it.
Don't make me come to that
You
ERB
accept me and all that kind of technology? Thank you very much.
I just need to.
Anybody else?
Wait,
Yeah.
can I, oh,
Not you.
I just want to ask about, I think I may have asked this before, but I need to hear it again. With the short-term rentals, you say you keep saying it's going to be a ban, but why do we keep bouncing everything back over and over again if everybody's saying it's going to be banned?
I don't have an answer for that, but I guess George, as he's been out, people are saying that they're looking, they believe that we shouldn't ban it. So I'm assuming that, because I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, no, I felt compelled tonight, and as I said in the beginning, I think I'm on board. It's a ban. We were going in that direction. But there were a few people who have spoken at the public sessions that really you shouldn't ban them. Sal was one, I think he did three. So when I was reading that over, I thought that with proper constraints, as we are right when I talked about, you could have an Airbnb and still, not have the disasters that we have at George's place and Bill's place that we had. But I was hoping I was gonna get some, some feedback from people. But as Rory said, we have it on the agenda for the 10th of July to ban it.
And when you say you have it on the agenda for the 10th of July, does that mean you're going to vote that day?
The 10th of July, we close the public hearing. We could act on it if we wanted to, or we would act on it at our next meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Right? Nothing?
We can send out comments to you by email about it.
Yes,
Right?
of course.
Motion
Can
to
I
go
say
into
something? No, I wanna.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, at the end of the meeting. So, what I wanna do is refer to a letter that I got that the town board got from Chris Healy. Dated May 23rd, and the reason I wanna refer to it, because it specifically talks about the comprehensive plan and the chairman, and I wanna answer to that. And I agree with you, we do need, just an overall comment. We need all the help we can get for Frank up in the building and zoning. He's doing a fantastic job. But one of the areas here we're asking to broaden his authority so that he could make decisions on items that go to the ZBA out in the field. And I discussed it with our board. Anybody that makes a recommendation, asks, we always get a consensus and stuff. And the consensus was it wouldn't be a good idea because, and a number of reasons. And by the way, I did speak to our building inspector and our former building inspector. Now, anything you do is not for the person, it's for the department, it's for the job. And of course, what happens is if we bypass the ZBA on something like that, or to do a plan, first of all, we take the public out. And the public does not have a say in anything that happens, and a lot of the properties may be contingent to where they want to build a pool or where they want to locate it. It could be close to someone else's line, within whatever, and you go to the ZBA, no one will know about it. It's not only pools, it's whatever authority you want to give him. That can affect other people, but they will not have a chance to comment on that. The second thing is that the building inspectors don't want that type of liability, because they'll be out in the field. They won't have the advantage of an attorney, they won't have the advantage of the whole ZBA board, and they could be liable for a number of things, and really have enough responsibility. They don't want that responsibility. It's very difficult. So basically, that was the gist of the conversation. We did kick it around an awful lot, you know, to expedite things, but in expediting it, there could be an awful lot of risk. So I did take your recommendation or your request.
Councilman Cantorino, I
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
giving it the attention you did. The explanation is understood and appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, and as I said, I went over it with the whole comprehensive committee.
Question for you on that, Chris. Were you talking about where, I know we've had a couple of discussions, even with the planning board, on situations where, and we've had an applicant come in that's looking to put a shed on, and they're here for a year and spend $3,000? Yeah, I'm just asking about this, because I feel the same way. There's gotta be a way to kind of reduce the time frame for, you know, simple applications coming in and cost.
Mr. Supervisor, that is the gist of the letter, is what I was saying. And what my thought was, if the building inspector saw something that was, you know, with his experience, he knows it's going to get through. And rather than put our residents through this very costly expense, was there anything that could be done to expedite for our residents? But I appreciate the councilman's explanation. I'm not looking to cut out the public, and maybe if this is just the bureaucracy, that's the bureaucracy. Unfortunately, we just had an applicant come. It was 14 months from the time that they received the inspection fine, if you will, to getting it fixed. It's thousands upon thousands of dollars.
But what was the reason for the delay? I mean, I was a member of the ZBA and the planning board.
From what I understood, it is simply the bureaucratic, the red tape between dealing with planning, zoning, having to get a ZBA appeal, and then just the backlog that they have. I was up in the office just the other day to pick up materials for the ERB board. They have a desk piled with plans. It's all over the place, and there's just a few people in the office, and we are growing at leaps and bounds. And I'm just saying, if it's technology that we can help them with, is it just straight personnel?
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand if we can clean up the process, but the process has to be through the planning board, because it does affect all the properties around them, the sites and stuff. And then the only reason it goes to the ZBA is if they need an exception.
And I'm just saying.
So there's a reason why it would go to the ZBA, because it doesn't conform. If it conformed to all the zoning, it would be passed at the planning board stage. So there is a reason for that, you know?
There are scenarios, because we have so many overlay districts, where it's a matter of the overlay district needing to be looked at.
Yeah.
Which takes 2 to 3 meetings, and
then
But that, Mr. Supervisor, is my point. In particular, there was one resident on Pulaski Highway, and yes, I understand that it was in the floodplain, but with just one look, you can see that was not the issue. Filling a little bit of dirt in to make it look better. That resident spent thousands upon thousands of dollars to get what was, to me, an obvious, yeah, okay, you can do that. And that's what I was looking
Yeah.
to.
No, I understand, but the building inspectors don't want it, they just don't want that responsibility.
Again, I do appreciate the,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate the explanation, thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in as well, because I did speak to Frank as well, like we had talked about it.
Yeah.
It also becomes an issue of they can't spot, right, what is it, spot zoning.
Yeah.
They can't, the liability that they would have is enormous.
Yeah.
They can't do for one and not do for the other. It becomes everybody sort of has to do it the same way.
So,
Real quick one, for the July 10th meeting, would it be possible to get a copy of what's proposed before the meeting? Is that-
Yes, I'll put it online for,
online.
Monday, George.
July 10th.
okay.
July 10th.
I'll put it online.
Right.
Oh, it's already done.
No, I'll put the latest one online. I don't think I did it, I'm sorry, but I will put it on over the weekend.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just real fast, I agree with everything that the board just said about building inspectors hating that kind of thing.
Right.
We always like to see them black and white, and of course, everything's
Yeah.
not all black and white. As much as it's black and white, we
It's
want it.
called plausible deniability.
Yeah, that's it, that's very good.
That's maybe another way. The other thing I did want to say is, something that the village does, and I'm not advocating it, they used to have like what they call an administrative review, where they had the building inspector and it might have been the
An
engineer.
engineer, it was the engineer.
And that's what I'm suggesting
Yeah.
to Lee, where there's a committee that goes and looks at an application, says this does not need a full board review. We can get through it, it satisfies, Kelly sits on the board and she
Absolutely.
agrees, and we move the process through, so they're here for one meeting, 2 meetings at the max, not a year.
And I think we can change the law, do something like that. My only concern with sticking consultants on there is that can cost them money.
Yeah,
Could I- doing it that-
but the, one meeting, 1 hour, cost an applicant $500, the poor guy that was putting the pool in, cost him $5,000.
Things happen weird
Yeah.
sometimes, I know that about it, but,
Right,
okay.
so anybody else, I wanna close this to go to
I'm gonna make a motion that we,
We're not
Go into- go into-
make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel,
With the intent to return.
with the intent
with
to
the
return.
intent to return.
Correct.
You made the motion?
So move.
You had a second?
Sorry.
I made the motion.
Yeah.
George
Moved it.
and Melissa?
We're coming back.
All in
only to
favor?
approve the police officers.
Aye.
All right.
Yeah, we'll be right, it's gonna be very quick,
Yeah.
that's all.
started.
All right, so I'm gonna read a letter that Chief Post wrote to me on behalf of both the new officers, and then the board can ask any questions, and we can point them. To Supervisor Betcher and the honorable members of the town board, the Town of Goshen Police Department respectfully requests approval to hire full-time police officers to support our growing public safety needs and maintain adequate staffing levels. Natalie Welsh, who ranks #1 on the current local civil service, Orange County Civil Service list, is our recommended candidate. She is currently enrolled in the Ulster County Police Academy and is expected to graduate this summer, making her available to begin duty shortly after that. Ms. Welsh has demonstrated strong qualifications, professionalism, and a commitment to the public service. Adding her to the department will ensure continued high standards of safety, service for the residents of Goshen. We appreciate your consideration and look forward to your support in this vital position.
Good.
Natalie? Anybody have any questions for her?
Well, when does the school actually end?
So our graduation date, I believe, is July 24th, but we start phase 2, which is like firearms training, which we need to be sworn in by on, I believe, June 28th? June 30th. So that's when we would officially start as kind of Goshen police officers, but we'd still be in training until the end of July.
And basically, your past history has been dispatching. You've dispatched, I think, in 3 or 4 different locations, right? So-
Yes, all simultaneously. I'm not flaky, I promise.
Oh, yeah, that's right. In fact, you're probably still working at some of those locations.
Yes, I've worked tonight at 11.
Oh, I see. Good. That's all I have.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. So can I have a motion to appoint Natalie Welsh as our new police officer?
Full-time police officer.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Natalie. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, I appreciate the opportunity.
Next up, Supervisor Betchero and the honorable members of the town board, the Town of Goshen Police Department respectfully request to hire a part-time police officer to help maintain adequate coverage and continue providing high-quality service to our community. Johnny Barajas, who ranked #2 on the current Orange County Civil Service list, is our recommended candidate for this position. He is currently attending Ulster Police Academy and is on track to graduate this summer, making him eligible to begin part-time duty shortly after that.
Good.
Tommy?
Good evening, how are you? Any questions?
Any questions for?
Or basically, your past history is with the restaurants.
That's correct,
right?
sir. Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the duty. On Thursdays, he has to do bar.
Either barbecue or Mexican.
I guess it was, yeah, you graduated from Mount St. Vincent's.
That's correct, sir.
Right. My wife graduated from
Really?
Mount St. Vincent's, but not the same year as you.
No. Are we sure?
That doesn't bode well for
The
you.
last
by the
number
way.
was the same.
It's not helpful.
It was, when she graduated, it was totally all female.
Yes.
I do know that it was all female at one time.
Right.
When I was there, it was not.
Well, we go back.
Some female.
We
Some.
go back at least once or twice a year to the campus for different functions, and we've seen the kids there, and, you know.
Beautiful campus. It's a university now,
Yeah,
right? So it's
right.
not college? Yeah.
Right, yeah, same like Manhattan, where I went to.
Correct. Which
It's
is a
Manhattan
couple.
University.
Right.
That was before Manhattan was Manhattan.
I did not say that.
It was still in the hands of the Indians. So, who's,
Manhattan College started off in Manhattan.
Yeah, I know.
And then it, you know, they have pictures of it, it's like, that part of the Bronx is like all farmland.
Yep.
When they moved up there.
That's where I live, George.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there at that time.
Any questions?
do you need a
All right,
motion?
so could I have a motion to appoint Johnny Barajas as our new Goshen police officer?
Part-time police officer. Why do I write these motions?
I don't know, because I'm not listening to you. It's
So moved.
7:15.
So moved.
I have been.
Melissa, second by Rick.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, congratulations, Johnny.
Do we
Thank
need
you,
any
sir.
motion for the K-9 unit?
Yes, I'm gonna
Are we
do that right
moving
now.
forward with that, please? I didn't write it for him.
I was just gonna throw, I'm not gonna read the letter because the chief
No,
already wrote it,
no.
so, can I have a motion to, well, how are we gonna put this? It's appoint and
A motion to,
create,
to create, a motion
yeah, a motion to create the,
K-9 unit.
part-time canine officer position at the town of Goshen.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Ever need
Good
anything?
luck.
Thank you.
Welcome on board.
Guys, was that, did I be here long enough? So you don't have to go?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Joe, sit down, motion to close.
Yes, you're right.
Stay safe.
Do I have a motion to close the town board meeting?